إن لله عبادا فطنا طلقوا الدنيا وخافوا الفتنا نظروا فيها فلما علموا أنها
Bismillah
ليست
ar-Rahman ar-Rahim,
لحي
Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu Rasulullah.
وطنا
And this is a
حجة
person, pretty much an attack on Yahya
واتخذوا
Snow,
صالح
because he's been
الأعمال
making some articles and videos about and exposing the foul
إن
mouth of Sam Shamoun.
لله
Sam Shamoun has been very vulgar in some of his discussions with Muslims, and basically Yahya is calling him on this. Now we have to make sure that we don't compound all the people into the same group, and just because, for example, Sammy said this, then therefore you have to attack Yahya on calling you that your mouth is foul. So just because Yahya is attacking and saying that, hey, look what you're saying, look how you're talking, this is not proper, then you can say, well, Sammy talked to me like this, so I can talk like this, and so on and so on. No, that is not the point. The point is how you talk. Now, I want to give a point here to Keith and say that he scored a point with me, and because he pretty much, kept it real here and kind of brought, examples and proofs from the Bible that mockery is allowed, that rebuking people sharply is allowed. And I want to give it to him because Sam Shamoun, his friend, went into another discussion, in another angle, when people would call him upon the fact that his mouth is foul and that he's vulgar. And then he would reply, well, your Quran is vulgar and saying this and this, and your Prophet is saying this and this. So I want to just give Sam and Keith a little lesson here about this so-called lessons in biblical mockery and even lessons in Quranic mockery. He's saying that basically, sharply rebuking and mocking certain Muslims and atheists is okay because, there's proofs in the Bible and the prophets and that God himself mocked people at certain points, calling them stupid and so on. And of course, Sam trying to prove from the Quran that, at the same time, some people are called pigs and apes and some people are called this and that, deaf, dumb, and blind, and so on. And therefore, it's okay for Sam to speak. It's kind of like a little child's game where someone says something and, the other child says, well, you said it, I can do this, and I can do that. Well, this person did this, so therefore I can, have a field day and, do this and that. This is just very, very immature and reflects a very small understanding on behalf of Keith and Sam. Also reflects the fact that Sam Shamoun is lacking scholarship, is lacking character and morality. And as a representative of Christianity, suppose the religion of love, the Prince of Peace, Jesus, peace be upon him, Sam is not doing too well. So this is not just sharply rebuking, mocking certain Muslims. Sam is being outrightly vulgar, insulting directly people. When we look at the example that Keith gives from the Bible, from the prophets and God himself, and the so-called examples that Sam wants to make appeal to, we find a certain interesting trait. And please, Keith and Sam, take note. The fact that God and his prophets rebuke some people, the fact that God and his prophets talk to certain people who don't believe, people who are enemies of God and so on and so forth, it is something that is peculiar to God and his prophets. People who are guided by God. God himself, who is allowed and cannot be asked about what he does. For example, Sam will try to bring up and say, God does this and this in the Quran. Therefore, what do you have a problem with me if I talk, and I rebuke sharply people, which is not just sharply rebuking, but insulting people, basically. Well, number one, Sam, you have to understand that just because God does something and his prophets do something doesn't give you the ability to do that. And let's put that to a very, very critical test. For example, in the Old Testament, Moses, a prophet, and many other prophets have waged war against the enemies of God, people who are against God, people who practice sorcery, people who themselves did not believe in God, believed in false gods, who were very strong against believers and fighting them. So these people waged war, killed them, took them as prisoners, enslaved them, pretty much wiped them off sometimes, and so on and so forth. God himself kills people every day, takes the lives of people, and that no one can call that as murder, right? No one can say, well, look, God is doing it, I'm gonna go do it. God, his prophets are doing this. So just because they're doing it, does that mean that any regular person can do that in any kind of instance? No. Just because God does so and so doesn't give Sam or Keith the right to do certain things. Because if you come from that angle, then someone might say, well, can you basically kill people? Can you basically wipe out people? Can you enslave people? And then justify the fact that, well, the Bible allows it. There's a lesson in biblical slavery, a lesson in biblical killing. And then justify. It's interesting because so hypocritical, because many times the Christian will attack the Muslim and quote such verses, such killings, such wars, such things, and they say, look what your Quran is teaching you. Maybe sometimes even such so-called attacks and rebuking. Look what your Quran is being so hard. Your Quran is being so and so. This is what it's teaching you. This is what it's teaching you. However, when it comes to the Bible, they tend to be very forgetful about that. And again, just exposing their own double standards. So Keith and Sam, again, to engage in a certain dialogue with someone doesn't give you the right to go and attack them. Even though if they might be attacking your book and so on and so forth, that doesn't give you the right to start, insulting and being foul-mouthed with them. I want to make another interesting point. In the Quran, God is telling us on many examples how to deal with people. Yes, God is sometimes insulting people. I mean, not even insulting, I would say. It's basically rebuking and saying people have no brain who don't believe. People are this or that. They're deaf, dumb, blind. But never does it call anyone, for example, stupid. Never does it call anyone you're an imbecile, you're an idiot, you're a snake, you're this or that, and other things that I don't even want to quote here. And there's a long list of some of Sam's insults that have been done. But again, I want to just kind of give you an understanding as to what the Quran says on how we should deal with people. And basically it says, invite to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching, and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious. For thy Lord knows best who have strayed from his path and who receives guidance. This is a way to do it. This is the way that Islam is basically teaching the people to talk. Now, if someone insults you and so on, again, you should be patient, as the وَإِذَا خَاطَمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا السَّلَامَ. When the ignorant people, when there's just tell them peace. Just tell them peace. Just push them off and just say peace, man. You're just ignorant. So again, we will not basically try to justify our actions and so on and so forth from scriptures, because number one, certain actions and certain events are only peculiar to God and his prophets for being God and those people being his prophets, such as sometimes war, such as killing sometimes, such as enslaving sometimes, such as certain actions that considered by human standard today, if we would do it, it would not be, I'm not God. I cannot start deciding to take the life of people left and right, but that is peculiar to God, and no one has the right to question that if they do believe in God. Be it Allah, be it Jesus, whoever they believe it is, lives are being taken every day. Innocent children sometimes that we might think are innocent, but again, in God's wisdom, he has the right to do that. That doesn't give Sam Shamoun the right to start, for example, killing people and say, oh, God's doing it in the Bible. Let me give you a lesson in biblical, killing. Oh, God's doing it. I can do it because I work for God. No, that's not the way to do it. That is a wrong and flawed understanding of this. I just want to point one thing, and this is an example of Keith basically showing an example of the mocking. And this is just for the sake of argument, and that is the issue of at Elijah, how at noon Elijah mocked these people saying, cry out loud, for he is a God. So basically mocking these people, people who believed in Baal. So basically saying either he is musing or he is relieving himself or he's on a journey or perhaps he's asleep and must be awakened. So making fun of these attributes. They believe in this God called Baal, and basically Elijah saying, well, this guy's relieving himself. What is he, on a journey? Is he asleep? He must be awakened. Basically saying these are not attributes of God. These has nothing to do with God. I just want to make, just to close with this, just an interesting point to the side, that this is something that a Muslim might mock Christians with, that they believe in God, in Jesus, saying that he's God. This is a person who basically was relieving himself, who was on a journey, and perhaps he was asleep many times and must have been awakened. And again, just using Elijah's words, these are the gods that Christians believe in, God that Christians believe in. And this is an example of how Muslims would be mocking them, and of course it would make Christians very, very upset. But again, the truth stands out from falsehood. Assalamu alaikum.